My true story from San Antonio, Texas. My son looked me in the face and said, "You're an embarrassment." Not a joke. Not out of anger. He meant every word. I was standing in my own backyard, surrounded by 20 of my grandson Tyler's little friends and their parents. It was his 6th birthday party. The party I'd spent 3 days planning, cooking for and decorating. I was wearing my favorite bright yellow dress with sunflowers, the one Tyler always said made me look like sunshine. But apparently I was too loud for the Pinterest-perfect party his mother Ashley had envisioned. "You're an embarrassment, Mom," Michael said, his voice cutting through the children's laughter like a knife. "Can't you just blend in more?" 20 pairs of adult eyes turned to stare at me. The entire backyard went silent except for the confused chatter of 6-year-olds who didn't understand why the grown-ups had stopped talking. I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stand there while my own son humiliated me in front of strangers. In my own backyard. At my own grandson's party. Using my own money. That's when I decided. He didn't need my roof anymore. I gave him 24 hours to leave. He didn't believe me at first. Actually, I laughed. "Mom, you can't be serious. Where would we even go?" But when he came home the next evening and his key didn't work anymore, when he saw his belongings neatly packed on the front porch, when the house got quiet for the first time in months, that's when reality hit. He banged on my door. "Mom, please. Just give us one more night. The kids don't understand. We can figure this out. But respect isn't something you beg for at my front door. It's something you should have never lost inside my house." Welcome back to Granny Dorothy's Stories. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Your support truly encourages me to continue sharing these incredible tales with you. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing from my sweethearts around the world. Let me tell you exactly how my son went from calling me an embarrassment at his own child's birthday party to begging me for one more night under my roof. 2 years ago, when my husband Roberto died, I was 66 years old and completely alone in our beautiful 4-bedroom house in San Antonio. The silence was deafening. Every corner held memories of the man I'd loved for 43 years. Every room echoed with laughter that would never come again. That's when Michael, my 35-year-old son, made what seemed like a loving offer. "Mom, you shouldn't be alone in that big house. Why don't Ashley, the kids, and I move in with you? Just temporarily, until you're back on your feet." Sounded like a concern. Felt like love. What it actually was the beginning of my transformation from respected homeowner to embarrassing burden in my own house. Ashley called herself a content creator, which apparently meant getting paid to convince other women that happiness could be bought in shades of cream and taupe. Her Instagram was full of perfectly staged photos of her mindful morning routines and intentional living spaces, all shot in my colorful Mexican home that she'd bleached of every ounce of personality. 50,000 followers thought they were seeing authentic family life. What they were really seeing was cultural erasure with good lighting. That included me. The changes started small. Ashley would organize my things while I was at my weekly book club. My colorful throw pillows disappeared, replaced with bland beige ones. My family photos vanished from the mantelpiece, swapped out for her generic live, laugh, love signs. The beautiful Mexican pottery my mother had given me somehow found its way to the garage, until we find the right spot for it. But I was grieving, and having my son's family close felt like a blessing. I told myself Ashley was just trying to help, trying to make the space work for everyone. How naive I was. Michael had been a successful real estate lawyer, but 6 months after moving in, he lost his job. "Don't worry, Mom," he said. "I'll find something soon. Just give me a few weeks to get back on my feet." Those weeks turned into months. Michael would spend his days networking, which looked a lot like playing video games and scrolling through his phone. Ashley continued her influencer work, treating my house like her personal photo studio. And me. I became the financial backbone supporting all of them. Groceries, utilities, Ashley's ring lights and camera equipment, the kids' school supplies. It all came out of my pension and Roberto's life insurance money. Not once did they offer to contribute. But the money wasn't the worst part. The worst part was watching myself disappear from my own life. My Tuesday Spanish book club had been meeting at my house for 8 years. These were my friends, women who'd shared stories and sorrows with me through Roberto's illness and death. But Ashley complained that we were too loud, and that our energy didn't match her brand aesthetic. "Mom, you know how important Ashley's work is to our family's income right now. Can't you just meet at the community center instead?" So my friends got pushed out of my living room to make room for Ashley's ring lights and camera tripods. Next went my Zumba classes. I'd been teaching free classes in my backyard for senior ladies from the neighborhood. It was exercise, community, joy. Everything I needed while processing my grief. But Ashley said the music was disruptive, and the women were not the kind of neighbors we want to attract. "Mom," Michael explained patiently like I was a child, "Ashley's trying to build a professional brand. Having all those people around doesn't really fit the image we're going for." Those people. My neighbors. My friends. The community I'd built in my own backyard. Even my cooking became a problem. I'd been making traditional Mexican food for my family my entire adult life. Roberto had proposed over my homemade tamales. Michael had begged for my pozole every birthday. But suddenly my cooking was too heavy, and not aligned with our clean eating goals. Ashley would take photos of family dinners but carefully crop out my food, showing only the plain grilled chicken and steamed vegetables she'd made separately. My grandmother's recipes, passed down through generations, weren't Instagram-worthy enough for her minimalist lifestyle brand. But I kept quiet, kept accommodating. I kept shrinking myself smaller and smaller to fit into the beige box they were building around my life. 'Cause they were family. 'Cause I was lonely. 'Cause I thought love meant sacrifice, and sacrifice meant silence. I should have known better. I'd been a high school principal for 30 years. I dealt with bullies, manipulators, and entitled teenagers who thought the world owed them everything. But somehow, when it was my own son doing the manipulating, I couldn't see it clearly. The breaking point came at Tyler's 6th birthday party. My grandson, my little sunshine boy, the child who still ran to me when he scraped his knees and asked me to sing him Spanish lullabies. I'd been planning his party for weeks. Not because Ashley asked me to, but because that's what grandmothers do. We make birthdays magical. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever had family make you feel like you didn't matter? Because what happens at this birthday party will change everything. Tyler's 6th birthday party was going to be perfect. I made sure of it. For 3 days I'd been cooking his favorite foods. My homemade tamales, fresh guacamole, tres leches cake with extra strawberries just the way he liked it. I'd hung colorful papal picado banners across the backyard, set up tables with bright yellow tablecloths that matched the sunflowers in my garden, and filled piñatas with candy and small toys. My backyard looked like a celebration. Vibrant, joyful, alive. The way birthday parties should look when you're turning 6 and the whole world feels magical. I'd invited Tyler's entire kindergarten class, plus the neighbor kids he played with. 20 little ones running around, their faces painted like butterflies and tigers, their laughter filling the air like music. I was wearing my favorite yellow sundress, the one with sunflowers embroidered around the hem. Tyler had picked it out himself from my closet that morning, saying, "Abuela, you look like sunshine." He hugged my legs and whispered, "Thank you for making my party so pretty." But I could see Ashley's face growing tighter with each colorful decoration, each burst of children's laughter, each compliment from other parents about how beautiful and festive everything looked. Ashley had envisioned something completely different. She'd wanted a boho minimalist, theme-neutral colors, organic snacks, carefully curated photo opportunities for her Instagram. She'd even hired a professional photographer to capture candid family moments for her authentic motherhood brand content. But Tyler had wanted a fiesta party, like the ones I'd thrown for Michael when he was little. Bright colors, traditional food, mariachi music playing in the background. The kind of celebration that honored our culture and made a little boy feel like the center of the universe. The party was in full swing when everything went wrong. Tyler was opening presents, surrounded by his friends, when he got to the gift I'd spent weeks working on. A hand-embroidered jacket with his name in bright blue thread, decorated with little cacti and sombreros. I'd made it myself, every stitch a labor of love, staying up late with my arthritic fingers to finish it in time. "Abuela made this just for me," Tyler announced proudly, holding up the jacket for everyone to see. "Look, it has my name." The other children oohed and awed. Their parents smiled and made approving comments about how talented I was, how lucky Tyler was to have such a creative grandmother. Tyler immediately put the jacket over his party shirt and started showing it off to his friends. But Ashley's photographer was shaking her head, gesturing toward Tyler in his colorful new jacket. I could see Ashley's jaw tighten as she realized this gift was going to be in every photo for the rest of the party. "Tyler, sweetie," Ashley called out in her fake sweet voice, "why don't you save Grandma's special jacket for later? We don't want it to get dirty during the party." "But I want to wear it," Tyler protested. "Abuela made it special for me." That's when Michael stepped in. "Tyler, listen to your mother. Take the jacket off. You can wear it another time." The little boy's face fell. "But Daddy, it's my birthday jacket. Abuela said it's for special days." "This isn't the right time," Michael said, his voice getting that edge that meant no arguments. "Give it to Mommy. Now." I watched my grandson reluctantly hand over the jacket I'd poured my heart into. Watched Ashley immediately hide it behind her chair, out of sight of the cameras. I watched Tyler's excitement deflate like a punctured balloon. But I stayed quiet. Because that's what I'd been trained to do. I was in the kitchen, refilling the agua fresca pitchers, when I heard Ashley talking to another mother near the back door. "I'm so sorry about all the chaos," Ashley was saying. Tyler's grandmother insisted on this theme. "You know how older people get. They don't really understand modern aesthetics." My hands stopped moving. "Chaos. Oh, I think it's wonderful," the other mother replied. "So festive and authentic. Tyler seems to love it. And that food is incredible. Did you make all this?" There was a pause. Then Ashley's voice lower now. "Gloria did most of the cooking. She's very traditional. Sometimes it's hard to balance her expectations with what we want for our family." Traditional. The way she said it made my cultural heritage sound like a burden. I walked back outside with the pitchers, my hands shaking slightly. That's when the mariachi music incident happened. Tyler had requested mariachi music for his party. Specifically, he wanted to hear Las Mananitas, the traditional Mexican birthday song my mother had sung to me, that I'd sung to Michael, that I'd been singing to Tyler since he was born. But when the song came on and I started to sing along in Spanish, my voice carrying over the backyard as I'd done at countless family celebrations, Ashley's face went white with panic. She rushed over to the speaker and turned the volume down, then walked directly to me in front of everyone. "Gloria," she said, her voice tight with forced politeness, "maybe we could skip the Spanish songs? Some of the parents don't speak the language, and it might make them feel excluded." "It's Las Mananitas," I said quietly. "The Mexican birthday song. It's tradition." "I understand that," Ashley replied. "But this isn't really the right audience for that kind of thing." That kind of thing. My culture. My language. My family's traditions. Tyler appeared at my side, tugging on my yellow dress. "Abuela, why did the birthday song stop? I want to hear you sing it." "Maybe later, Mijo," I said softly. But Tyler wasn't giving up. "Sing it now, Abuela. It's my birthday." Ashley's smile was so forced it looked painful. "Tyler, sweetie, Grandma can sing to you inside later. Right now we're having our party out here. But I want everyone to hear Abuela's song. She has the prettiest voice." That's when Michael decided to intervene. He walked over to where Tyler was still tugging on my dress, where Ashley was standing with her arms crossed, where 20 sets of adult eyes were watching our family drama unfold. And he looked me straight in the face, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear, and said the words that would change everything between us forever. "Mom, you're being an embarrassment." The entire backyard went silent. Not just quiet, silent. Even the children stopped playing. "You're embarrassing us," he continued, his voice steady and cold. "Can't you just blend in more? This is Tyler's party, not some cultural showcase." I felt 20 pairs of eyes staring at me. Parents who'd been complimenting my food and decorations just minutes earlier now looked uncomfortable. Children stood frozen, confused by the tension they could feel but didn't understand. I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stand there in my sunflower dress while my own son humiliated me in front of strangers. Tyler's little hand was still clutching my dress, and I could feel him trembling. He didn't understand why Daddy was angry at Abuela. Then something inside me, something that had been bending and bending for months, finally snapped. If you've ever been publicly humiliated by someone you love, you know that moment when everything changes. When you realize you've had enough. What I did next shocked everyone, including myself. Make sure you're subscribed because this is where everything turns around. I stood in that backyard for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only seconds. Then something clicked. Something cold and final and absolutely done. I looked Michael straight in the eye, my voice steady despite the humiliation burning in my chest, and said, "You know what, Michael? You're absolutely right. This is Tyler's party. And starting tomorrow, it'll be your responsibility to throw them somewhere else." The confusion on his face was almost comical. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you have 24 hours to pack your things and get out of my house." The backyard somehow got even quieter. A few parents started gathering their children, sensing that this family drama was about to escalate beyond what they wanted to witness. Michael actually laughed. "Mom, don't be ridiculous. You can't just kick us out. Where would we go?" "That's not my problem anymore," I said, my voice carrying across the yard. "You called me an embarrassment in my own home, in front of my grandson's friends and their parents, while living here rent-free and spending my money. 24 hours, Michael. Make them count." I turned and walked into my house, leaving the party still going on without me. But I wasn't hiding. I was planning. The first call I made was to my lawyer, Rosa Gutierrez, who'd been my friend since high school and had handled Roberto's estate. "Rosa, I need to know my rights about evicting family members from my property." I told her everything. The months of financial support, how they'd taken over my house, how they'd been treating me like an unwelcome guest in my own home, and finally, Michael calling me an embarrassment at his own son's birthday party in front of 20 families. "Gloria, that house is 100% in your name, right?" "Yes. And Michael and Ashley have never paid rent. Never contributed to mortgage, utilities, anything. Not a penny. Then legally, they're your tenants. Even without a written agreement. You can evict them with proper notice." "But Gloria, are you sure you want to go this route?" "Rosa, my son called me an embarrassment while I was hosting his child's birthday party with my own money in my own backyard. I'm sure." The second call went to a locksmith. "I need my locks changed first thing tomorrow morning. All of them." The third call was to my neighbor Mrs. Rivera, who'd actually been at the party and witnessed the whole humiliation. "I'm going to need your help moving some things tomorrow. And I want you to be my witness." That night, while Michael and Ashley whispered frantically in their bedroom about Mom's breakdown and how to handle this situation, I was in my home office researching tenant rights and eviction procedures. By morning I had a plan. The locksmith arrived at exactly 8 a.m., just as Michael was leaving to look for work, which usually meant playing golf with his unemployed lawyer friends. Ashley was getting the kids ready for school, still traumatized from having to explain to the party guests why the birthday boy's grandmother had suddenly vanished from his own celebration. While the locksmith worked on the front door, I started carrying boxes out to the porch. I'd spent the early morning hours packing their belongings. Carefully, respectfully, but firmly. Mrs. Rivera appeared right on schedule with her phone out, recording everything just like I'd asked her to. "Gloria, are you sure about this?" I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Ashley came outside around 9:30, back from dropping the kids at school, and stopped dead when she saw the boxes on the porch and the locksmith installing new deadbolts. Gloria, what the hell is this? This is what happens when you call the homeowner an embarrassment while living in their house for free, I said calmly. You can't do this. This is illegal. This is completely legal, I said, pulling out the paperwork Rosa had prepared. Your tenants who've been given proper notice to vacate. Neighbors started to gather. Ashley pulled out her phone. I'm calling Michael. I'm calling the police. This is harassment. Please do, I said. I'd love for the police to hear about how you've been financially exploiting an elderly homeowner while calling her an embarrassment at her own grandson's birthday party. When Michael arrived 20 minutes later, his face was flushed with anger and panic. Mom, what the hell are you doing? I'm exercising my rights as a homeowner to secure my property and remove tenants who violated the terms of their stay. Terms? We never had any terms. We're family. Family doesn't call family an embarrassment in front of strangers, I replied. The locksmith finished his work and handed me the new keys. The old keys that Michael and Ashley had been using were now useless pieces of metal. Where are we supposed to go? Ashley demanded, her influencer composure completely shattered. Our whole life is here. My business, my content, everything is based on this house. You should have thought about that before you decided my Mexican grandmother's life wasn't aesthetic enough for your fake minimalist brand, I replied. Michael tried one last desperate approach. Mom, think about Tyler and Sophia. You're punishing innocent children because you're upset with us. I'm not punishing anyone, Michael. I'm protecting myself. And those children will learn an important lesson about treating people with respect. One more night, he pleaded. Just give us one more night to figure something out. That's when I turned to face him directly, my voice steady and final. Respect isn't something you beg for on someone's front porch, Michael. It's something you should have never lost inside someone's house. You had months to show me respect. Yesterday, at your own son's birthday party, you chose to call me an embarrassment instead. As they loaded their boxes into Ashley's car, I stood on my porch in my yellow sundress, feeling stronger than I'd felt in months. The neighbors were openly supportive now, some of them actually applauding. Mrs. Rivera walked over and hugged me. Mija, you should have done this after the first time they disrespected you. I know, I said. But I did it today. That's what matters. Michael tried one more time as they were driving away. He rolled down the window and called out, Mom, when you change your mind, and you will call me. We can work this out. I didn't respond. I just watched their car disappear down the street, taking their entitlement and their disrespect with them. That afternoon Tyler called me crying. Abuela, why can't we live in your house anymore? Mama says you don't want us there. My heart broke. Mijo, sometimes grown-ups have to make hard decisions. But Abuela will always love you, no matter where you live. Can I still come visit? Can you still sing me the birthday song in Spanish? When you're old enough to visit by yourself, this door will always be open to you. And I'll sing you all the Spanish songs you want. Standing up for yourself isn't easy, especially when it's your own family. But sometimes it's the only choice you have. Stay with me because what happened next will give you hope that things can change for the better. That night, for the first time in 8 months, my house was quiet. Not empty quiet. There's a difference. I made myself a proper Mexican dinner. Chili rellenos with extra cheese, Spanish rice with cilantro, and fresh tortillas. I put on my mariachi music and danced in my kitchen, singing Las Mananitas at the top of my lungs because I could. For the first time since Roberto died, I felt truly at peace. Word of the birthday party incident and the eviction had spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. Mrs. Rivera's video of Michael calling me an embarrassment had found its way to the neighborhood Facebook group, then to local community boards, and eventually to TikTok. The response was overwhelming. This is what standing up for yourself looks like. Never let anyone make you feel embarrassed for being authentic. Gloria has goals. Protect your peace at all costs. My phone started ringing. Local news stations wanted interviews. Podcasts reached out. Even a few national shows expressed interest. But more importantly, other elderly people started calling. Mrs. Mendoza, I saw your story online. My daughter-in-law does the same thing to me. Gloria, my son calls me old-fashioned when I speak Arabic in front of his friends. I've been supporting my adult children for years, and they act like I'm the problem. I realized I wasn't alone. There were thousands of older adults being taken advantage of by entitled adult children who saw them as financial resources rather than human beings deserving of respect. Within a week, I'd started a support group that met at my house every Thursday. We called it Dignity After 60, and it became a place where older adults could share their experiences and strategize about setting boundaries with manipulative family members. My house filled with color and laughter again. I redecorated exactly the way I wanted. Bright Mexican textiles, family photos on every surface, my mother's pottery displayed prominently. I started my Zumba classes again, this time advertising them proudly as traditional Mexican dance fitness. The response was incredible. My book club friends rallied around me like a protective army. Within days, they'd organized a Gloria appreciation party that turned into the biggest gathering my house had seen in years. But the most unexpected development was the attention my story was getting in the Latino community. A producer from Univision reached out about featuring my story on their morning show. Mrs. Mendoza, your story resonates with so many Latino families who've experienced this pressure to assimilate, to make themselves smaller to fit into their children's idea of success. The interview aired 3 weeks after the eviction. I wore my brightest dress, the one with embroidered roses, and spoke in both English and Spanish about the importance of cultural pride and family respect. Our children think they have to choose between success and heritage, I said. But you can be successful and still honor where you came from. The segment went viral in the Latino community. I started getting letters from grandmothers across the country who'd been made to feel ashamed of their accents, their cooking, their music, their traditions. 4 weeks after the eviction, Michael showed up at my door. Not Ashley, just Michael. He looked tired, older somehow, and there was something different in his eyes. Mom, can we talk? Please. I let him in, but I didn't offer him coffee or invite him to sit down. Ashley and I separated, he said without preamble. She blamed you for ruining her career, her brand, everything. She moved back to Dallas with her mother. And the children. Shared custody. I got a job, Mom. Real job. I'm renting a small apartment, paying my own bills for the first time in months. It's humbling, but it's mine. I stayed quiet, waiting. I've been thinking about what happened at Tyler's party. About what I said. About how I made you feel. His voice cracked slightly. Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me. But I need you to know that I understand now what I did to you. What did you do to me, Michael? I made you ashamed of being yourself. I made you feel like your culture, your traditions, your voice were embarrassments instead of gifts. I let my wife erase you from your own home because it was easier than standing up for what was right. For the first time since he'd walked in, I softened slightly. Why, Michael? Why did you let that happen? Because I was scared, he said, tears starting to flow. Scared of not providing for my family, scared of losing Ashley, scared of admitting I was failing. And instead of dealing with my fears, I made you smaller to make my life easier. Yes, I said simply. You did. Tyler asks about you every day. He doesn't understand why we can't live with Abuela anymore, why Daddy made Abuela sad at his birthday party. What do you tell him? I tell him that Daddy made a terrible mistake. That I hurt the most important woman in my life because I forgot who I was supposed to be. We talked for 2 hours. Really talked for the first time in months. Can you forgive me? He asked finally. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, Michael. And it's not the same as going back to the way things were. You can't ring that bell. I know. But yes, I can forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to let your mistakes make me bitter. Does that mean? Could we maybe start over? Slowly. We can start something new, I said. But it won't be the same. You'll earn your way back into my life, not expect your way back. And Michael, when Tyler and Sophia are old enough to visit their grandmother without your permission, this door will always be open to them. 6 months later, my life is fuller than it's ever been. Michael and I have built something new. Not the old relationship where I supported him unconditionally while he took me for granted, but something healthier. He visits twice a week, always with an invitation, never with an assumption. He brings Tyler and Sophia when it's his custody time, and we dance in the kitchen to mariachi music, and I teach them traditional recipes and tell them stories in Spanish. Tyler still asks to wear the embroidered jacket I made him. Now Michael encourages it, taking pictures of his son proudly showing off his heritage instead of hiding it away. Last month, Tyler had another birthday party. His 7th. This time, Michael specifically requested that I sing Las Mananitas in front of all the guests. When I finished the traditional song, the entire backyard erupted in applause. Several parents asked me to teach them the words so they could sing it at their own children's parties. "Thank you for sharing your beautiful traditions with us," one mother said. "My son has been asking me to teach him Spanish songs ever since he heard you sing." Michael stood next to me, his arm around my shoulders, and said, "My mom is the most talented woman I know. We're lucky to have her heritage as part of our family." The most important lesson I've learned through all of this isn't about standing up to family members or setting boundaries, though those things matter. It's about this. You are never an embarrassment for being authentically yourself. My son called me an embarrassment because I was proud of who I was, where I came from, and how I chose to live my life. Because I sang in Spanish, cooked traditional food, wore bright colors, and celebrated my heritage loudly and joyfully. But the only embarrassing thing was how long I let him make me feel ashamed of being Gloria Mendoza. Now I wake up every morning in my colorful house, surrounded by photos of my family and artifacts of my heritage, excited about the day ahead. I wear whatever bright colors make me happy. I play mariachi music as loud as I want. I cook food that smells like my childhood and tastes like love. I'm free to be gloriously, authentically, unapologetically myself, in my house, on my terms, singing my songs in whatever language brings me joy. If there's an elderly person in your life, a parent, grandparent, or neighbor, who you might be taking for granted, I want you to remember my story. Remember that they were whole, complete people long before you came along, with rich cultures, deep traditions, and beautiful voices that deserve to be heard, not silenced. And if you're someone who's being made to feel like an embarrassment by people who should cherish you, remember this. You are not an embarrassment. You are a human being with value, wisdom, and worth. Don't be afraid to demand the respect you deserve, even if it means walking away from people who can't see your value. Respect isn't something you beg for on someone's front porch. It's something you should never have to lose inside someone's house. My name is Gloria Mendoza, I'm 68 years old, and I'm proud to be exactly who I am. Bright, loud, traditional, and completely unashamed of the beautiful culture that shaped me. And if anyone has a problem with that, they know where the door is. What's the most important lesson you're taking from my story? Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity? I'd love to hear your thoughts and your own stories in the comments below. And if this story has touched your heart or opened your eyes, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that they are valuable, they are worthy, and they are definitely not an embarrassment for being themselves. Remember, respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you should never have to lose. And you are never too old, never too dependent, and never too traditional to demand it. See you in our next one.